Hello and welcome to another episode of the Construction Corner podcast. I'm Dillon, I'm your host. And today, guys, I'm going to talk about how to scale your firm. Really, here at the Construction Corner, we've talked about and brought people on from all walks of the industry, from problems and challenges that they've faced in growing their firm, from cash flow issues to going and getting more clients, marketing, really everything that you can think of in growing your firm. And at the end of the day, there's really only a handful of buckets that you've got to worry about, right? One is talent. And this goes across all buckets, but talent is number one, right? Do you have the right people in the right positions on your team to do the job? And the kind of four big areas within any business is sales and marketing, right? And I'm going to combine that into one, because for most of us, we have business development, right? We try to be a little more fancier with our terminology and call it business development instead of the sales guy, right? Like we're not a used car lot, but so we fancy it up with business development. So you got sales, marketing. Those should be under kind of one like chief marketing officer role. If your firm's big enough, where it handles all the social media, the sales, the, calling on customers, proposals, estimates, whatever, right? That should all fall under hopefully one department. Next is finance, right? So accounting, making sure you're getting paid. You got lines of credit if you need them. Paying your bills, right? So accounts receivable, accounts payable, lines of credit. Those are the two big things, or three, that finance should really handle, right? Getting reports, making sure that everything on the financial side is handled. It's good. Then when you get past finance and probably like payroll and, all that kind of fun stuff sits inside of finance too. Then you get to HR, right? So this is your onboarding, recruiting, and really should be your training arm. And I think training often gets put in its own weird little bucket somewhere. Maybe it's your IT guys thing. And then your BIM manager, which BIM managers don't sit. They sit in like operations. They don't sit in like IT or finance or any of that. And I could add probably a fifth department with IT. But really it's data systems knowledge, which you could wrap kind of all under like finance, right? Is information. So IT, finance, information, and viewing all of that can really wrap into one thing. Now, should your CFO really be leading that? Probably not for everything, but that's kind of what everything can fall under, right? Is data systems. You're only looking at things that it's all data and information, right? But a lot of accountants shouldn't lead, an information department, but that's effectively what you're doing, right? You're looking at reports for either finance or usage for software, all those kinds of things. Again, if you want to split IT out, I totally get it from finance. So HR is recruiting, hiring, training, all that should be under HR, right? And usually you throw insurance under them too. Again, whether that should or shouldn't be in there, totally up to you guys. But that's probably what more HR people end up dealing with is like insurance claims. And you should really have like an insurance specialist in your firm, or at least somebody for them to go to. But HR should really be more about your people operations, right? Like recruiting, hiring, training, developing your people, not worried about like what my healthcare insurance is, or how do I go and do this? How do I deal with doctors? Like that is for sure a big issue that a lot of firms end up dealing with. But it really detracts from, they should be your chief people officer, and like, how do we hire more? How do we attract more? How do we retain, train, advance, promote, all those types of like people operations. With that, they just end up getting inundated with like Blue Cross Blue Shield, versus, trying to bring in the next hire for your team to fill out so that you're not working, 60, 70 hours, 80 hours a week, to get things done. And then that brings us to operations, right? That's the actual doing of the thing that you do, right? Engineering firms engineer, architecture firms design, contractors build. So when we break it down into these buckets, you then have like pretty simple and clearly defined roles. What are you trying to do? How are you trying to do it? And basically supporting it, right? And so we look at this with sales and marketing. That's really to go and fill the rest of the pipeline, right? If those guys aren't producing, you don't have a company. HR and finance, IT, those folks are really supportive roles, and somewhat marketing, but finance, IT, HR, those are all supportive roles to operations. Operations is, why you get paid. It's doing the thing that you do, right? Showing up, delivering a product, shipping services, shipping drawings. That is ultimately why and how you're getting paid, is from doing the things that you're doing, right? Designing drawings, shipping drawings, building buildings, putting work in place. So all those need to work in concert in a nice, cohesive manner to effectively do what you're trying to do. This podcast is all about trying to make you guys more efficient, more effective, build it all out. And really, I talk to the builders of the firm, the guys that are running operations, to do more with less, right? I'm not here to talk about HR and recruiting, even though you need to recruit and there's, reasons why they should be on your team, and to make your team a place that people want to work. So there is, like, for sure some people operations, but I'm not talking, we've had people and come on and talk about cash flow and why it's important and, how it can work, because it could really mess up operations if you don't have any money to do anything with. Sales and marketing, obviously you need to promote yourself, talk about your services, how you can help people. And that really goes a long way. But when it comes down to, like, the end of the day, most of us are working in operations, right? We're trying to just get the job done, get drawings out the door, ship product, build work in place. Like, that's ultimately what we're trying to do. So when we talk about, like, all of you is finding ways to improve the thing that you're doing, finding ways to make your craft easier and better, whether that's through prefab, right? And doing a lot of work at table height. Like, prefab is getting a huge amount of traction in the market, because not only now are they making the machines for it, but you're doing a lot of work at table height. And so instead of having to travel out to a separate job site in a different location every, 3 months, 6 months, however long a project goes, you go to the same place every day. You're working on the same stuff every day. Reduces your travel, reduces, all those expensive. You have an office to go into. You see the same people every day. And for some people, they like that a lot more versus new place, new people, new experience, right? And for each their own. We need both. So in the field, like, prefab is making a huge play to, pre-do bundles, right? To kit and ship stuff, so that the field job is a lot easier. Things are much simpler to put in place, and it makes everybody's life a lot easier at the end of the day. And with prefab, that comes with design, right? Being able to design those systems, to do it all digitally, so that you have a representation, a model of what that thing is going to look like, whether it's underground duct banks and those conduits in, nice positions with rebar and everything else, so that you can just sit them, and the tops of the conduits, or the top 4 inches, are above grade, so that when you set them, you know how deep to dig the hole and then where to fill concrete to, and it's all done, right? Everything's done and ready to go for you. All that takes modeling, it takes coordination, it takes logistics, right? And all the people to fill in that operational bucket of getting the job done. Now, prefab has made things a lot more efficient, a lot more effective, and a lot more profitable, frankly, for the contractor, right? In construction and in contractor language, and frankly, as an engineer who now does a lot of design build projects, like contractors very much understand hours equal dollars and have a very clear understanding of, an hour of a foreman's time, an hour of an apprentice's time, an hour of a supervisor or superintendent, what their time is, billed at, what it's worth. So they understand if you save 10 hours and we are at $100 a billable hour, like it's $1,000 saved, right? And does this translate? And they can do that math in their head. Everybody does it all day long. Everybody's very transparent with it about what their billable rate is for a guy and what they need to pay back on that given task, right? Like I gave the example a little while ago about like saddle clamps for pipe, on a conduit rack. And I saw a client walk that through with his guys in the field, right? Hey, this thing costs $4 more. Will it save, I need it to huge run, right? And $4,000 worth of stuff, can you guys save 40 hours doing this? Right? Put it to his guys. But it's a straight up like time for money equation, and they all understand it pretty clearly. So on the design side, like I wish more and more of us lived in, billable hours, dollars per hour, and could understand that equation of like me taking an hour on doing this, here's what it costs: $125, $150, $200, $85, whatever it is, to be able to go through the math of like, hey, if I save 15 minutes in templatizing this one thing or improving this family, and then we do 20 projects this year across the team, that 15 minutes now translates into 5 hours saved, and 5 hours at just say $100 an hour for easy math. Well, that's $500 saved. Cool. Now for every year moving forward, it's $500 saved every year. So you can start to see where all these little things, to take half an hour and I save $500, it costs $100. So that's a 5-to-1 ROI, right? On something simple as that. So as we go through each of these like buckets and you translate it into time and money saved and, implementing automation tools, implementing this software, that software, some simple ROI calculations can make a huge difference for you and your team. Like for Surfboard, it's a free trial, right? $500 deposit unlocks $10,000 in tokens. You get your $500 back if you complete the 7-day onboarding process. And even if you don't, we're going to credit them to you anyway. So there's like no risk in it, right? You're getting your money back through all of it. A lot of the software that's out there is, free to try, or if it's, free, your data is getting used somehow. So you're paying for it in one way or another. But like a lot of these tools that are out there in ChatGPT and, a lot of these AI tools, like you have the ability to automate so much, to make decisions faster, to move faster. And I really just hope that more of you start to view your time as, what can you do to maximize your return on this, right? For a lot of you, and especially just starting out, like it is just huge amounts of repetition, right? Like designing those systems, going through it and doing it over and over and over again. But if you can use automation to lay it out, right, that allows you to see more projects. It allows you to go through more processes. It allows you to do more because you're not spending, 6 months, a year to go through a given project. Like here recently, we just did a test project for Kowabunga Studios. It was a 330,000 square foot high school. It took half an hour to go through. It took 15 minutes to go through all the lights, receptacles, switches, aux sensors, fire alarm devices, right? Make all the design selections and criteria for that project. So it took 15 minutes to set everything up basically. And then it took another 15 minutes to, once I hit run, for it to populate the entire model. You had 7,000 devices that got placed across that model in a half hour. Took like 16 and a half tokens, which is, $1,600, $1,650 to do all of that work, right? Like you just saved 1,300 hours across that entire project. Cause It was a $75 million high school. The electrical fee on that is like 500 grand. And so, and you divide that out, it's like 4,000 hours to do all the work. And so when you start to really do that math, so the fee was like six something. So 600 grand, it was like 4,300 hours or 4,500 hours is the budgeted hourly or amount of hours that were on it, which is 2 guys for an entire year plus another 500 hours for construction administration over the next 2 years while the thing was built. So in that, if I just saved half of your drafting time, it's 2,000 hours. So it's an entire year for a person. Say I saved a 30-year drafting time, so 1,300 hours times even $100 an hour for a billable rate, right? That's 130 grand, which is an entire person that you saved, right? For $1,600. So it is a literal 100-to-1 ROI on one project, saves you just a crap ton of money. So for most software tools, like there's no reason that you should not be using them. It's like, I don't know why you're not using ChatGPT or Grok or Claude or any of these AI tools to help you to think through problems, to outline content that you're going to do, or edit papers, or edit a proposal, or review anything. Like it's free, it is simple, pretty easy to go through and implement. And then on automation tools, I mean, again, for Revit and automation, everything that you're going to do, like it's a simple tool. It's pretty cheap. We just went through 100x ROI. Like there's no reason that you shouldn't be using these tools to do anything. Because at the end of the day, like for operations to be successful, for you to be successful, like the firm's got to ship work. It's got to bill for it. It's got to collect on it. And then everybody gets paid, right? Pretty simple process. So a lot of the things that we end up talking about and going into are these fine details of how something's got to work, the details on a project, how to get this thing across the finish line, right? The big picture stuff is, I'd say, fairly simple, but it's getting through all these details, how to implement it, who's implementing it, who's doing it. And once you kind of get those other, maybe not the boulders in the jar, but those smaller rocks and pebbles filled in, to where you can then put the sand in to then fill the rest with water. It makes for an easy project, great operating firm, and you just rinse, repeat, and keep doing it for a very long time, making money, helping people solve their problems, and being known for the firm and the people to solve the ultimate problem of putting either drawings together or building it, and making your clients' building dreams come true, right? Whether they're putting in a new factory, building a new hospital, building a new office headquarters, whatever that is, what we do ultimately creates things in the real world that people go have, work at, get better at, hopefully in the hospital, have their checkups, go through and build out their dreams for their new office, and hiring all their people and employing them to build the world that we live in. So pretty rewarding in what we do ultimately, guys. But again, just make sure that you're focusing on those details, focusing on what you can, and together we'll all build a better world. That is this episode of the Construction Corner Podcast. Until next time.